Fáilte, and I am Shifra Pierce, so I'll introduce myself first and then everybody else. So I'm head of School of Languages, Cultures and Linguistics at UCD, and we're just delighted to have you all here tonight. I guess if you've come tonight, it's probably because you're very interested in what we do, so we're delighted to see you, and I'm surrounded by a group of alumni, of current lecturers, current students, and our fabulous Senior Executive Assistant, Melanie Pape, who's steering tonight's event. So you're very welcome in. I'm going to talk very briefly about what studying languages, so modern languages and linguistics is like at UCD. Then we're going to invite our UCD career advisor, Michelle Cohen, who's here with us tonight, to give a little talk about from the careers perspective. And then finally, the very fun part, you'll hear some of our former students talking, some of our current students talking, and you can ask them as many questions as you like. They're going to talk about their experience of studying with us and also where that brought them if they've left UCD already. I would invite everyone to please pop your questions into the chat as you listen. We'll be able to address all the questions. There's plenty of time, and we look forward to them at the end of the short presentations. So let's start with, first of all, who are we? You probably all know about UCD. In UCD, there are 6 colleges. Within those colleges, we're in the College of Arts and Humanities. We're a member of a school, so we are actually a school. There are 7 schools in our college. And within our school, there are subjects. You have college, well, university, then college, then school, and then subjects. And I'm particularly going to talk about the subjects tonight, okay? So first of all, I'm going to do it from the perspective of the name of our school. So our school is called School of Languages, Cultures and Linguistics. Let's start by talking first about modern languages. I'd say if you come to join our school, you will get a fabulous opportunity. It's basically to bring what you already have, your linguistic curiosity, maybe your knowledge of languages, if you have prior knowledge of languages, to a higher level. So some of you will improve or perfect your favorite European languages. Some of you may just decide to take up 2 brand new languages from scratch and bring them to degree level. We don't promise to get everybody to native fluency, but we do most of our students attain a really excellent level of very near native fluency. So if you're familiar with the European framework, where an A1 is a beginner in language and C2 is complete fluency, we like to bring students to C1. So you're very near native fluency if you work hard and you enjoy your languages at UCD for 3 or 4 years. Within our school, we do teach across a range of degrees. I'm not going to talk about them tonight, but you can ask questions about them later on. And your school career guidance teachers can help you choose which degree will suit you best. So the language subjects we offer in this school are, for example, French for non-beginners. We don't do beginners French, but we do beginners or non-beginners in all our other languages. So in German, Italian, Spanish, and Portuguese. And I'm guessing, like I said earlier, if you're here today, it's probably because you love languages, and you may already have learned one of these languages or maybe a different language from scratch at secondary school or high school. So you probably already have an ability to enjoy languages. Maybe you watch films in them. Maybe you're lucky enough to have traveled abroad, or maybe you just keep an eye on foreign music or art or politics or sport or current affairs from the countries in which your language is spoken. And I'm sure that's the case for an awful lot of you out there today. And that is a brilliant starting point for coming to study with us. So I'm sure you're kind of curious as to how to bring your linguistic skills to the next level. Here in the school, there's kind of a great satisfaction in speaking foreign languages well, and it definitely opens up a whole new world to you, as our former students will talk about later on in their little presentations. So there's another term in our school name, it's cultures. So this is the second part of 3, languages, cultures, linguistics. In cultural terms, by studying languages at UCD, students don't just use language to order coffee, as you well know, okay? Instead, you become a real mini expert in certain aspects of those countries in which your chosen language is spoken. So there's a whole cultural framework. You'll learn to read novels, maybe poetry, in your foreign languages. You'll have focus on women, post-colonial authors, maybe minority authors. You may study films or documentaries that explore questions of migration, transnationalism, maybe question colonial legacies or historical inequalities. You'll get to travel, to teach or study abroad on trips or on an extended study abroad program. You might, for example, choose to spend a year abroad in Madrid, in Berlin, in Rome, in Lisbon, in Montreal, in Paris. And I guess I was thinking about this, but the big difference between school and university is that in university, you really choose to study those subjects that you love. And you really get opportunities that many of you will never have dreamed even exist before this. It's a fabulous opportunity, and languages help you to travel and to broaden the mind. Now, the third part of our title of our school is linguistics. So what is linguistics? Some of you will know it's the science behind language. So taking linguistics as a degree subject or as an elective, you will study things like syntax, which is sentence structure, or semantics, which is meaning in sentences, or maybe relations between words, or the sounds behind languages, which are phonetics. One of our hot favorites with students is always sociolinguistics. So how the social variables like, for example, social status, religion, gender, ethnicity, age, or education can impact individuals, societies, and particularly how a language is spoken. And as you know well, how we speak language can actually determine how successful a business is, or it might also stop us offending a stranger either in our country or when we're abroad. So what I'm not going to talk about today, because our alumni and our students here today are going to talk about that, is afterwards, but it's a question we're always asked. What can you do with a degree in modern languages or linguistics? Well, I would say our students can do absolutely anything, okay? As linguists, we tend to forget that not everyone has the skill of speaking a foreign language. It's a precious and a special one. It's also an amazing opportunity to reach out to others, to learn and to travel. So when our students leave us, we typically see them going into jobs in business, teaching, law, politics, diplomacy, translation, research, the EU, charity work, working in the media. And I'm sure my colleague Michelle Cohen has even more suggestions than that. So you will hear some of our former student stories this evening. I hope you enjoy them. And today is just a little taster of some of the things that you may learn if you come to study with us in this school of, well, we call them modern languages and linguistics, but our school's name, as you can tell now, is languages, cultures, and linguistics. So thanks very much. And without further ado, I'm going to pass over now to our UCD career expert, our advisor, Michelle Cohen. Thanks, Michelle.
Great. Thanks so much, Shifra. I am going to share my screen and share some slides. So just bear with me for a moment. From beginning, is that okay? You can see that? Okay, yeah, I can see Shifra nodding. Okay, perfect. So I'll just hide the faces for a moment out of my Zoom at the side there. Perfect. Okay, well, firstly, thanks so much for the opportunity to come along this evening and meet and talk to you a little bit about career options. I suppose just to maybe explain a little bit about a part of my work is working with students on a one-to-one basis. So they can pop into the Career Centre and have a chat about their career options. And I suppose I'm always remark on the language students that I meet because they are so enthusiastic and passionate about the language that they're studying. And they seem to be really, really enjoying it. And while it may be challenging at times, just that immersion in a subject that they love and that they care about and that they're good at. So I suppose I would say maybe just firstly that obviously you're here to find out a little bit more about the experience of studying at UCD. But if you are curious about studying languages, if you have an awareness that you have an aptitude for languages, and you know that it's something that you might enjoy, I would say, you know, listen to that, follow that thread, follow that instinct, because you will if it's something that you enjoy and that you're passionate about, you'll really, really enjoy your time at UCD and the privilege that it is to immerse yourself in a subject that you love. And it's the language skills that you either learn from the start or continue to develop and grow, and that passion, that's what will shine out to employers. So just to say that. So I know that later you're going to be hearing about the experience of studying at third level, studying a language at third level. It's a little bit different from school, and then what it's like to study abroad, to go abroad for Erasmus. But I'd like to take a few minutes and maybe talk to you firstly, what's the employer perspective on students who have studied languages, who are graduating with a fluency in one or two European languages, and then look at some of the career options. And I suppose Shiva mentioned there that you can, I suppose your language degree can take you anywhere. And I think what's overwhelming at the start is the variety of opportunities. But we'll have a look at that, and we'll look at where some of our graduates have gone after their time at UCD. My slides will move. Perfect. So you can see there, I just had a little bit of a look around in the employer space about what employers are saying about graduates with language skills. So IBEC, some of you may or may not be familiar with it. IBEC is the Irish Business and Employers Confederation. So as you can imagine by the name, they have an enormous network of Irish and international employers and organisations in Ireland. So Claire McGee, the head of education and innovation policy with IBEC, she had a fabulous quote that I wanted to include here about what employers value in language graduates. So if you think about the language fluency and skills, but as well as that, she highlights the cultural awareness, critical thinking, and the ability to communicate with diverse audiences. And something else then that's noted and commented on by companies hiring graduates is that resilience. So that ability to deal with upheaval and maybe changes at short notice and new projects. So that resilience that a lot of language students have from that opportunity to study abroad. Okay, so that's something that they notice in graduates, that's something exceptional about language students. This I love. So I should have led with this. Language skills are gold for employers like us. So that says it all, isn't it? Because I remarked to myself when Shiva mentioned that language skills are precious. Not everybody has the aptitude or the skill or the passion for languages. And to employers, many employers, the language skills are really, really gold. It's something that they place a huge value on. And Sinead Darcy is known to many universities and universities like UCD very well because she and her team will come on campus every year because they have 80 positions on their international graduate program that they need to fill, because Jameson, like many, I suppose, Irish products that are made here, obviously have international markets that they liaise with and deal with and have offices in. So they have offices, for example, in over 50 countries, and they need graduates to be able to either liaise or travel or base themselves in those regions and liaise with local customers, with the offices there in terms of advertising, PR, finance, marketing, training, HR, all the many business functions. And Jameson is just one example. There are, basically, if you think of many, many household brands and names and products that we'd be familiar with. And so you have organizations like Kerry Group, Glanbia, Bord Bia, Fáilte Ireland, all competing for language graduates and all really placing a premium on those language skills. And just to say about the graduate programs, you may not have much knowledge of those. That's where companies hire you know, high volume numbers of graduates and train them, give them lots of training in a function that they want them to work in. So fantastic opportunities there. And then this is another quote that stood out to me as well. Just jobs.ie is a large jobs platform where many companies would advertise their roles. And so Chris, the CEO of that platform, mentioned that, you know, he would have seen that in a competitive jobs market and a competitive graduate market, that language competency on your application or in your CV, that's often the key differentiator, or, you know, your selling point between you and another, you know, qualified graduate. So I think, you know, if you think about it from, I suppose, you know, you're just thinking about entering university, but on the other side, you have a lot of graduate employers very, very keen to get your skills, and they place a real premium on them. So that's something to think about. You're really, I suppose, setting yourself up for success in terms of competing in a graduate market with your language skills. And I suppose for you, the choice is, because we mentioned it earlier, just the variety of opportunities. And I think that's something that probably takes a little bit of a reflection over your time in UCD, because it can be overwhelming when, you know, me or my colleagues in the career network, you know, are getting excited about your language skills and saying, but there's so many opportunities, there's so many things that you can do with that, and it can take you in so many different directions. So I would say over your time in UCD, while you immerse yourself in the academic curriculum, enjoy the study of languages, and take advantage of all the great opportunities UCD has, you will also have an opportunity, and there is support there to help you understand and figure out what it is that you'd like to do with the languages. And I thought I'd draw your attention just as a visual, that your languages will take you into so many roles across so many different industries. So it's about thinking a little bit how can I marry my language skills and aptitude and the interest and passion I have with maybe an interest that I have as well? Because, you know, you can take your language skills and work as a foreign correspondent or a local, with a local domestic TV or media platform, maybe for a different region, or base yourself, you know, in another region reporting in Ireland. And lots of opportunities in journalism and across many different digital media platforms for languages. Obviously the arts and culture, big sector, where obviously in the education sector, where there's vacancies for language graduates, but also then to maybe, if that's something that you're interested in, we've had students before who've worked as curators in Italy, in the Guggenheim. So if that's a space that you're interested in, it's using your language skills to apply it to drama, to festivals, working in theatres, etc. I suppose a big one then that's very popular with many of our language graduates is, I suppose, the teaching education sector in secondary level and third level, but then the wide variety of roles in public sector and EU roles. So just before we started our webinar, I was telling my colleagues about a careers event that I was at yesterday evening with the EU Commission, where they were talking to UCD students about all the great opportunities to work as a translator or interpreter, and lots of opportunities there. So we had 2 graduates joining us from Brussels, talking to us live about their fantastic roles there. Lots of roles then, lots of opportunities obviously to work with the various EU institutions, but you can also be based in Ireland, working for, you know, our own public sector. So lots of the Department of Education, Department of Taoiseach, etc., where your language skills are valued, where you can, I suppose, research and engage with our European counterparts as well. And of course, then you have our own Department for Foreign Affairs and the diplomatic services, where again, of course, your language skills are in huge value there, where you can work in our different consulates and embassies abroad. The law and advocacy, again, we have many of our language students, I'm mixing up my L's, who are interested in practicing law, but also maybe marrying that with their interest in languages. So they might study their languages degree at UCD and then later do their professional training exams to be a solicitor. So we've had students, for example, studying Spanish, and they go on and take their FE1 exams at a later stage after they graduate. And of course, a language is a fantastic competency and skill to have if you're interested in working in international NGOs or charities. Again, some fantastic opportunities with the UN, with many international organizations. And of course, then we've seen a huge emergence in the business and across marketing and communications. So we have, I suppose, you might be familiar, many of the, I suppose, top tech companies in the world in terms of software and social media platforms have EMEA headquarters, so the European headquarters in Dublin and around the country. So they hire all the time for language students for localization roles, to work with, you might be based in Dublin, but looking after a community of users in France or Germany or Italy, depending on your languages. So they're really exciting, interesting roles that have come across in the last few years. Lots of interesting roles then across business. And then just to go back to the marketing communications role, again, if you're interested in writing and creativity and marrying that with your language skills, lots of exciting roles in that space as well. So that's all great. And that's, we can talk a little bit more about the variety of opportunities, at career consultation conversations. But to give you just a snapshot of what are recent graduates of languages, what are they doing? So we have, you can see on the screen, I've some screen grabs from LinkedIn of recent graduates. So we have Sophie working in marketing now at the moment, and she studied French and Italian. And Lauren, who's working in journalism, travel journalism, and she studied German previously. And you can see I added a few interesting roles that some of our graduates are doing right now. And I think it demonstrates just the breadth of different roles across like media, the technology firms, education, EU, the media again, and kind of public sector EU. So a significant interest in teaching, but also in kind of the public sector, European affairs, language teaching, and then obviously the Trust and Safety Associate role at Twitter. So using their language skills there to work with different communities in different European regions. And then I just thought I'd add two alum as well who have been very generous with their time and have come back on campus on a number of occasions to share their experience of how they used their language skills to move into different roles in industry. And so Africa studied French. French with English literature, but as you can now see is working in a marketing and communications role, and has returned on campus and speaks very, very passionately about her time studying and how she's been able to use the skills from her time in UCD to develop her career. And also then Sarah, and Sarah is a passionate advocate of the German language, and again, was very involved with the German Society here, loved and was passionate about the study of German, and her career story is really, really interesting. And I suppose her career trajectory has been fantastic, and she's now a project manager in Lidl, and is, talks very passionately about her experience of studying and the skills that she's gained and has been able to apply to her current role. And we have lots of alumni coming back on campus each year to share their stories. So there is opportunities all the time to continue to learn when you join UCD, to continue to learn about what the various opportunities are for you. So I just wanted to give you a short insight. Come and study here and enjoy it, immerse yourself in it. participate in all the great career events. And there is employers, as I said, like Sinead, who consider your skills to be gold and are really enthusiastic about meeting you. And there's a lot of opportunities there. And I think it's about, you know, considering your options and where your own interests lie and what you think would be a good match for you. So thanks very much for the opportunity to talk. Sorry, I forgot to mention this slide, which it shows another graduate program with IBEC and just shows again the variety of different roles there and the different language skills that they look for. Really, really interesting opportunities there. But thank you very much for your attention. And I know you're looking forward to hearing from our current students and alumni now. And then if you have any questions, please type them into chat and we'll get to them at the end. So
thanks, Michelle. That's just fantastic.
Sharing.
Really, really great to hear all that absolutely up-to-date information, and always great to hear the stories of people who go on with languages and use them in outside campus and off campus later on. So for now, we're coming back into campus. We're going to hear from some of our students and some of our recent alumni, and they'll introduce themselves. I'm going to start with Maria, and then I'll let you guys float ahead.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Oh, good. Great. So my name is Maria Gentleman, and I'm an international student studying first stage linguistics, languages, and cultures. So one of the many benefits of the linguistics and languages programs here at UCD is that you're able to schedule your timetable based on your interest, which is so different from the way school was structured. You have a few core modules and then optional ones you get to select. Elective modules enabled me to pursue interests outside of my program, and there are many to choose from science to computing to politics, psychology. Further, all the languages classes and tutorials are divided into small groups, resulting in a very personalized approach and providing you with the opportunity to apply what you have learned with your classmates and with your lecturers. One of the biggest challenges as you enter university is that you will not receive direct guidance as you would from high school teachers unless you come and ask for it, meaning you are accountable for your decisions, so to speak. For example, professors will not follow you up with missing work or your lack of attendance, which is something you have to keep in mind and be responsible about. Nevertheless, I found the professors are very kind and helpful, extremely helpful when they know you need the support. They genuinely want you to understand the material taught because they're so passionate about the topics they teach. The topics are always up to date on current research and news, which is definitely a benefit. And if you're like me, you probably feel that some topics you cover in school have no real application in your life. And university is where this changes. There are a myriad amount of opportunities you will come across, from internship fairs to societies to having the time to discover new fields of interests. So, you know, if you are a person that is passionate about learning something new, consider applying to one of these programs. Ad astra, as we say, to the stars. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. I guess I'm the next person. And oh, my camera stopped. And yeah, I'm also an international student. I'm Italian, and here I'm studying Spanish and German with the degree Modern Languages, which is a degree I cannot like tell you more to do, like it's the best. One of the many amazing things that you could see is that I applied to do my Erasmus in Spain, for example, but also all my course mates, we are all going to Erasmus. This is the only course that allows everybody to go to Erasmus, which means there is no competitive aspect. Because if you study something else and maybe with a language, you might be like, oh, I don't have a high GPA enough to be able to do the Erasmus. Here is not happening. We are all going to go practice our languages. We're all going to come back really fluent, I believe, even more than the C1 that was promised. I believe we are going to become fluent 1 year abroad. And the teachers really care for you. For example, I mentioned briefly that I wanted to be a translator to my Spanish teacher, and the same day she sent me an email with an event about translators that were coming to talk to UCD. So they remember what you say, and they will care about it, and they will organize extracurricular to learn like a language in a fun way. For example, the Spanish teachers are organizing a play completely in Spanish, and everybody can join. and the German one organize a debate against Trinity every year, which is really competitive and really something to look forward. Even some people that don't speak German want to come to see the UCD students talk against Trinity. So everybody's welcome. And the best thing about campus life, I would say, is definitely the societies and the clubs that you can join. There are many interests. I guess there are around 90. So many things that you like, even completely different from languages, you can join and you can find friends. Because sometimes it's hard, like nobody comes with a friend group already made in university. So to join society is something that I would definitely suggest. And you need to put yourself out there. You need to choose your own courses most of the time. You need to find where the societies are meeting. You need to go there. You need to make friends. You speak with people and you will have an amazing time. And as you guessed, I'm Italian, or maybe I said it, I forgot. And I hope many of you will choose to study Italian. So maybe one day we'll be able to speak together in my language. Thank you. And I will let Aoife speak next now.
So hi guys, my name is Aoife. I am studying Commerce International in UCD, of course. And sorry, I think my camera's gone off there. I'm not sure why. Anyway, it might just be my internet, so I'll just keep going. You only have my voice. So for me personally, I love the way that languages are actually taught at UCD. So instead of doing 6 weeks of grammar, for example, followed by 6 weeks of conversation, we actually work on each aspect of the language simultaneously. So being in my final year now, I have 3 classes of Italian a week. So that's 1 dedicated solely to grammar, 1 to translation, and 1 to conversation. And that just means that each week I'm actually working on all 3 aspects of the language, which really helps to improve my Italian in a very well-rounded way. And it also keeps the classes really interesting and diverse. And then in terms of Erasmus, I actually went abroad last year to the beautiful Florence in Italy. I was supposed to go for a full year, but due to COVID, it was just the 1 semester, I'm afraid. But I could not recommend Erasmus enough. Learning a language in the classroom is one thing, but using it in the native country is a whole different experience. And for me, it just really allowed me to bring the language to life. So I actually studied 3 business modules through Italian there. So although it was a challenging semester, the level of learning gained was just immense. And on top of just improving the language, of course, going on Erasmus really led me to appreciate the culture in Italy. So while I was there, I traveled to Pisa, Siena, Rome, Naples, the Amalfi Coast, and so many more places. So for me, it really meant that when I came back to UCD in 4th year, after being abroad, I really had this renewed passion and excitement for Italian, because I now viewed it as being a language that was alive as opposed to just words on a page. So I would highly recommend Erasmus, and I will pop you on to Marianne next.
Yeah, so like you said, my name is Marianne. I graduated last year with a degree in Italian and German. I didn't go on Erasmus, but I'm currently working as an English language assistant in a secondary school in Germany. And yeah, the highlight for me of studying new languages in UCD was definitely the number of languages I was able to study. As I've said, I did a joint honours degree in Italian and German, but as part of the joint honours degree in UCD, in first year, you study 3 subjects. So in first year, I studied Italian, German, and French. And in second year, that turns into 2 subjects. But instead of having to drop my 3rd subject, French, I was able to keep it up as a structured elective, which was really amazing. And on top of that, you would have space to take other electives in other languages, in the huge range of languages that UCD has to offer: Portuguese, Spanish, Irish, and so on. But yeah, then those 2 questions at the bottom there, it's obviously specific, very personal to each person. I personally didn't find it too difficult to study more than 1 language at the same time. Studying at college is never easy, but I didn't find it too difficult. Some of the things that really helped me were going to the lectures and seminars if I could at all. It's really easy to kind of get into the habit of skipping one every so often and saying they'll take notes on the take notes later. But if you can at all keep on top of attendance. It really helps. And then another thing is keeping the languages separately. So organizing them in different folders, in different notebooks, and maybe organizing different times to study the different languages, not studying them kind of simultaneously. But yeah, that's me. And I will now pass you on to Abigail.
Hello. So my name is Abigail, and I am currently in the languages, linguistics, and cultures pathway, and I am doing it mainly with linguistics and German. And last year, I had the chance to take a semester in Munich in Germany, and while I was there, I was able to take classes in linguistics through German, but also doing German medieval studies, which was particularly interesting for me. I would say that my highlight would be that the LLC degree allows you to choose a lot from different programs. So I've done a bit through sociology and information sciences, but also through the School of Celtic Studies. And I found that in particular was an interesting tie-in with linguistics because of a lot of the documents we would study and how linguistic analysis has been used in the study of history and archaeology. And so for the questions at the bottom, what did I know about linguistics before I started? So I had kind of been researching a little bit on my own time. So I had a very surface level understanding of some phonetics, but I basically was just looking at what I found to be interesting features in different languages, grammatically or phonetically. And what I would consider the major takeaway, I kind of had mentioned the way it's integrated with the other humanities. I found that interesting. But another major takeaway is just how much broader linguistics was than I initially understood. There were classes on language and law, sociology, or sociolinguistics, as well as language development. So I found that there were a lot of different areas of linguistics, and you can kind of find what interests you within the field. So, all right, I'm gonna pass you on.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can all hear me there. My name is Fergal Murphy. No relation to our esteemed lecturer, Fergal Murphy, in linguistics in the school. But yeah, so I did the BA Joint Honours as well, like a lot of friends here on the call, and I did Spanish with history, and I am of the class of 2019. So my Erasmus year was spent on the beautiful northern coast of Spain, in Bilbao, in the Basque Country. And my Erasmus year was slightly different in the fact that I took avail of the English language assistant program, which a lot of the information and support was provided by the School of Languages, Cultures and Linguistics. So this allowed me to teach English in a secondary school in Bilbao. So not only did I get the Erasmus experience of living abroad, but I was also working abroad and just totally immersed in the language. And as people have said before, in the living in the language that you are studying makes all the difference. So can definitely recommend that. So yeah, so how did studying languages influence my career choice and help me find a position? So it was definitely thanks to the English language teaching year that I spent in Spain that I came back and loved the idea of teaching English as a foreign language. So I set about finding myself a job in a language school as their social program coordinator, so taking students out and doing activities with them. And this is also within UCD, so also a great place to work as well as to study. I then, upon graduating, I went into the Applied Language Centre on campus, which is different to our School of Languages. And again, something that anyone interested in languages will definitely be interested in once you get to UCD. And there I was involved with ensuring that international students improve their English language ability to study on their degree. And I loved the engagement with international students and just working in a multicultural and international environment. So I am now based in the UCD Global Office, which again, if you go on Erasmus, you'll be well acquainted with, as we facilitate the Erasmus placements with all of our partner universities across the globe. And there I am in recruitment and admissions for non-EU students from emerging markets. And definitely studying languages gives you the edge, and as Michelle spoke earlier, that employers are really looking for in the jobs market. So yeah, absolutely. Languages was a great thing to have on your CV and in your back pocket when you look for a job once you graduate. So yeah, so I'll pass on to Catherine now for our final slide.
Hi everybody, my name is Catherine and I first joined UCD to study a BA joint honours in Spanish and linguistics. And that later led me on to studying a research master's in Spanish, which I have just completed. So I think one of the most rewarding aspects of studying both a language and linguistics was really the range of modules available to students, offering them a well-rounded knowledge of both the fields of study, really. So in linguistics, this was giving you a look into the different subfields of linguistics, of which there are many, as a few of my peers have mentioned so far. And in Spanish, this was not just learning the language, but it was also thinking about the literature, the culture, visual art, cinema, which were aspects of the language that I hadn't really come across a lot beforehand. And I found that to be really, really valuable and played a massive part in the career path that I now hope to take in academia. I think another really important aspect to draw attention to is how well studying a language alongside linguistics complements the other subject. You really start to make those connections between the language and what you learn about linguistics, how language works, the grammar and all the theory behind that. And I think that's really, really important. So I think those are the key things for me. And another important thing I would mention, which leads me on to my question, was the opportunity to go on Erasmus. So I took my Erasmus year in the third year of my degree before returning back to UCD in my fourth year. And I went to Valencia in Spain, which was an incredible experience. It not only helped me improve my language skills, but it also exposed me to the culture of the country, which of course you can learn about in university, but you can't fully experience it until you are there. So that was really important for me. And most specifically, it was during my time in Valencia that I was able to really develop my interest in both Spanish and Latin American art and literature. And this was a really consolidating moment for me because it actually led me on to the course of study that I have now chosen. So it led me towards a research degree in the works of an artist involved in the Surrealist movement in Spain, both art and literature. So I think if I hadn't gone on that, if I hadn't had that year abroad, that probably wouldn't have happened. So it was a really important moment for me and really opens you up to a world of opportunities. So next I'll pass you on to Declan.
Hello, everyone. Coming up on the screen, I don't know. Hello?
Hi, we can hear you.
Hi, Declan.
Oh, yeah, okay, right, no problem at all, okay. Great, so I did linguistics and Irish studies. I graduated in 2020. Unfortunately, I didn't have a ceremony due to a certain thing called COVID. Yeah, so as I was talking to Melanie earlier on, what I was doing is with linguistics and Irish studies, I felt that they were very divergent, I thought, until I studied sociolinguistics, and then it kind of came together for me. So with linguistics, we mentioned the technical subfields, phonology, syntax, etc. But there's a sociological element to linguistics that I found really, really helpful. And with that and the Irish studies, it came together for me. So for example, one of the things we studied in Irish studies would be the rise in immigration over the years since the Celtic Tiger, and how, you know, certain, how do you say, right-wing kind of anti-immigrant activists use migrants' lack of, you know, they don't speak English properly, etc., etc. So with a sociolinguistics background, you can begin to unpick all of these kind of prejudices that they have. So the two of them work very well together, and also corpus linguistics was a great module, and intercultural communication there again with the School of Languages and Linguistics. They really helped, very much helping in your research, particularly corpus linguistics. So it sounds scary, corpus linguistics, but it's what you're doing is it's a corpus of data. You build a corpus of data, and then you can investigate it for certain things. So I built a corpus of data, for example, from the Daily Express website, and I investigated, was it as anti-immigrant as it, you know, as you know, it has a reputation. And my hypothesis was correct. It was very much anti-immigrant. So I don't want to bog you in with all the details or technical details, but linguistics is a fascinating subject, all the various strands that are there, and it's a great subject to complement others. For example, Irish studies or sociology, or, you know, any other of the subject streams. So that, to answer the question, how's it getting further studies? So with all of that kind of in the toolkit, I saw an MA in DCU, refugee integration. So what we're doing there is we're looking again at anti-immigrant rhetoric. That's my thesis is on anti-immigrant rhetoric. And I'm also volunteering with a MELI project, it's called. It's an excellent project. It's the Migrant English Language Literacy and Intercultural Education Project. And what we do is we help people in direct provisions, and we help them with English language and computer skills, and just kind of integrating, not assimilating, integrating. That's very, very important to make that demarcation. So to help people bring their own cultures with them and their own languages and heritages with them, and to not feel ashamed of that. And that's actually another thing in sociolinguistics, we talk about language attitudes. So again, I feel that linguistics was an amazing choice, and it's led me on a nice kind of career trajectory. So I hope that helps. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you everyone. That was just more than brilliant, everyone. Absolutely superb talks and really interesting. We've also, at the same time, we've had a lot of talks, a lot of chat coming through, and thank you to everybody who jumped in to try and help answer some of those questions. I hope we've answered a good few, but we might come back to, for example, questions about, there seem to be a lot of questions about taking up a language as a beginner, complete beginner. So do we have anybody here amongst our speakers who might like to talk about that, taking a language from scratch at UCD and what that felt like? Great, Andrea, off you go. Thank you.
So I take Spanish as a non-beginner, so I already had experience with it, but German complete beginner. I started from zero. And you will not believe the change I can see already from a year and a half. Like, of course, I'm not fluent, and I would probably it will take a long way, but you can see the difference. And the debate I was talking about, I will participate in the debate. So I already have the level to be able to speak like this. And there is a pretty good, it's intense, the course for beginners. I feel like every course for beginners is intense, but it will be worth it. Like you, from a month to the other, you will be able to understand, speak, and in 4 years, you will be able to speak it.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Andrea. Really useful. Anyone else want to talk about their experience? Maria first. Yeah, thanks. And then Aoife.
Yeah. I say it really depends on your professor, because, for example, Italian, I'm studying beginners Italian and German. And German is extremely intense, and it says so in the module descriptor. And some people were surprised upon the start of module that it's very intense. We went over A1 textbook just in the last semester. So in 3 months, you already have the ground knowledge. Well, Italian is also intense because they want you to pick up on the language as quickly as you can, but the professors can slow down and take it slower. So I'd say it really depends, but it's definitely worth it.
That's great advice. Thank you, Maria. And on to Aoife.
Yeah, so not myself. I actually did do Italian for the Leaving Cert, but my best friend didn't. So we basically started off in first year. So the idea in UCD is that by the end of first year, you both will amalgamate into the same class. So in second year, you're in theory the same kind of level. So she did a very intense Italian for the first 2 semesters, and I did intermediate. But then by second year, we were almost the same level, and we went on Erasmus together in third year. And she probably had better spoken Italian than me, honestly, even though I had done it for my Leaving Cert. So it's just the way it's taught in UCD. I wouldn't worry either way, whether you're a complete beginner or you've done it for the Leaving Cert, because by second year, you're going to be amalgamated anyway. So I really think I wouldn't let it put you off, definitely.
Yeah, I would concur with that. And just to add, another thread that's come through the chat tonight is, for example, some of you are saying you'd like to take beginner's French, and we don't offer that in this school. So that gives me an opportunity just to give you an idea of the difference between our school here, where we bring all these students here, our former students have brought their languages to degree level. But say you want to take beginner's French or you want to take beginner's Arabic or something we don't offer, we recommend then that our students would go to the Applied Language Centre, which is on campus in UCD. All students are welcome to take their electives there. A lot of our students will pick up, say, for example, they might do a term of Portuguese, a term of Russian. We do actually offer Portuguese as a degree subject here, but perhaps you don't want to do it to degree level. Maybe you just want to do that as a 3rd or 4th language. And so therefore, most of our students will have done at least 1 term in the ALC, and they really enjoy it. It's a great way of just getting kind of an entree into another language. Whereas if you come to this school and you challenge yourself and you want to, let's say, do your 2 languages to degree level, well, then we facilitate that within our what all the former students here have talked about, and our current students, you know, that it's really an intense learning from the point of view of getting you up to degree level on time. So that's the difference in a sense. I hope that's helpful. We have an awful lot more questions coming through. So very good questions here, for example, about the difference between LLC, so languages, linguistics and cultures. That's a degree pathway, and instead maybe doing a joint honours of linguistics and Italian. What we might do, we had a few, I mean, some of our speakers here tonight talked about the LLC degree and then talked separately about a joint honours degree. How about we ask you, what would you recommend at this point? Those of you doing LLC, are you happy you took that pathway? And if so, why? Or would you have preferred maybe to do joint honours more intensely focused on just 2 subjects? Go, Maria, thanks.
Yeah, so I'm doing the LLC pathway, and I'd say that this program is a little bit different to the pure or joint linguistics modern languages programs in that it's a very small course. We don't have more than 20 people enrolled at the program at the current time. So first stage is just 13 people, which meant that in one of the modules, course mates were all able to interact with each other and form relationships early on, which is so important as you switch from university where you, from school where you probably had a group of friends to university, a completely new setting where you don't really know anyone. And another thing is we were able to interact with our module coordinator personally, and it was very beneficial in getting personal feedback and allowing the transition from school to university feel a little smoother. So I definitely recommend LLC.
Thank you, Maria. Would anybody like to speak up for joint honours? If nobody does it, I'll do it. I did joint honours, so I'm a big fan of that combination. I suppose it means that in your BA degree, you focus in much more closely on just 2 languages. But again, it's a very personal choice. There is a question here that I would like to address though. Did anybody do BA-IML here? And I'll tell you why, because we have a question here asking about doing 3 languages. Okay, so there is a possibility, which is the BA in modern languages. So do we have a BA in modern languages representative who wants to talk about Yeah, Andrea, again, I'm sorry to point at you, but I'm hoping maybe you could say something. And you did talk earlier about juggling 3 languages.
So,
but I suppose the question is, if you're a true linguist and say you want to become an interpreter or translator, that would be an ideal route. Am I right for you, Andrea? Is that working out well for you?
It's working really well. So for example, you can even take the first year 3 languages from the School of Languages. So for example, Spanish, German, and Italian, let's say, all from the School of Languages. So no applied language center. The second year, you will have to decide only 2 majors. So only 2 languages, sadly, but you can still do the last one as an elective. The only difference will be that you cannot do the Erasmus in the country that's that elective. Like you'll have to do the Erasmus in one of the 2 majors. So if you already know which one you might, like you can only go to one country. So if you already know which one, you can continue to do that. In my case, I could not choose French as a beginner in the School of Languages. So I'm doing the Applied Language Center, which is done pretty slowly, I might say. Like I'm not going to become fluent in French with that. So that's one of the big difference. But I still enjoy it. If I had to take 3 languages really intensively, it would be much harder. So I like that I can do a bit of French every week without having to think, oh, I need to remember all the irregular verbs. So, but you can absolutely do it, and I will do it. I feel like I will become like at least B1 in French by the end of my degree, which is good.
Which is very good from beginners. That's from scratch. Yeah. That's great. And just to let you know that if you are doing French at university, in the school, you come in at B1, which is what we consider kind of lower intermediate. So anybody who's done French at Leaving Cert would be well able to follow the program.
I just see the other question, that if you graduate with all 3 languages, I think you will graduate with like a mother language degree that says Spanish and German. And then if you did at least 3 in Italian, for example, it will say structured elective in Italian. So it will say something like this. So
exactly.
Yeah,
I was just saying the structured elective would be a good thing to mention, that all languages can be taken as a structured elective. So there are certain modules that you need to take during your time in UCD. So you can start with 2 languages and then have the elective as a 3rd language and then continue that through, and that will then appear on your transcript. So it's very possible, even in the joint honors, to do 3 languages.
Brilliant, Melanie. And that's actually the option that Marianne talked about earlier. And I see your hand up. Marianne, we'll pass you the floor. You can talk to us about how you manage that structured elective in French with your other 2 languages.
I was just going to say that's exactly what I did. So in first year, my 3 subjects were Italian, German, and French. And then in second year, I chose to continue to take as my main subjects Italian and German, but I wanted to continue with French. And I realized that I could do a structured elective, which would appear on my degree certificate. And I thought that was the best option. So I think to get a structured elective, now correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's 3 language modules between 2nd and 3rd year that you have to take.
Exactly, yeah.
So I did that, and then I also had other electives left over to fill. So I chose some other French culture modules. And yeah, it was just great to be able to stick with all 3 languages to the end, although they weren't my main subjects, all of them.
That's really useful. Thanks, Marianne. Now, any other outstanding questions? I'm sure we've missed a few. We've all been trying to respond into the chat all evening. So thank you very much to the team, to everybody for working. We've just finished our hour now. So I'm going to hand to Melanie. Have you any other questions that came through, Melanie?
I think there are a few questions about just going into teaching and just if a modern languages degree qualifies. So maybe Michelle, if you just want to just talk about that. And I know I saw the question in the chat, but because there's a lot going on, maybe we just
did we miss one? I think I was replying to was it Max with the resources, but I might have missed one.
Maybe we just highlight that again.
So I think I had sent, for if you're interested in teaching, that the Teaching Council has a brilliant website, so you can check, if you studied Spanish, Italian, it lists like all the different topics that they want you to have covered as part of that study of Spanish or Italian. So on the Teaching Council, you can actually see, yes, I've studied this enough, I suppose, electives. I think some of it is like they need you to have studied 30% of different components. And then you're eligible to apply for your PME. So I always refer to the Teaching Council website because I think that's really, really useful and the most up to date. And I put in another resource there that was, I think, I can't see it now, it was Grad Ireland, just taking you through the process of how to apply to be a teacher. So I think was the question about the modern languages versus the, sorry now, I've lost it.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
The question.
Oh, Mark, sorry, yeah. Oh, versus the BA. I think that was it.
I think the BA in modern languages versus BA, yeah.
Yeah. So again, I would probably be just checking the subjects. So what it might be is if you want to drop me your mail and we can have a chat offline. I just want to double check that you'd be covering all the topics that the Teaching Council consider necessary for to progress to a PME. So I don't want to be giving you false information. So I can double check that for you, Max, if you want to pop your email into the chat box.
Yeah, I mean, for anybody, maybe I could jump in, Michelle, for anybody who's interested in going into teaching after a degree in languages, the Teaching Council of Ireland, as Michelle has said, has very specific and very careful demands and needs. So you'd really want to look up the details of their requirements. They require a language to a certain level and it has to be studied literally to degree level. And then they also need non-language elements as well. So there is a combination of cultural modules, maybe linguistic literary modules and language modules. It's very important to fulfill their requirements. But yes, lots of our alumni have gone on to do the PME in education. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I think I would be looking first, Max, at the link I sent you from the Teaching Council and looking at the criteria they've mentioned for Spanish, and then going back to the information on the UCD website about modern languages and the BA. So I hope that makes sense.
Okay, we've two questions that have come in, one about the MA in linguistics. So I have suggested that because that's a very specialized question, if you don't mind, Dermot, I'd ask you to email our director of that MA program, Moirni Kissoin. And we also have a question from somebody who's interested in doing a master's in modern languages with the view to going on to a PhD. So obviously, yes, we're delighted to hear any queries of that nature. Our MA in modern languages runs every year and runs either across 2 languages or one focus on 1 language as you prefer at MA level. And then the PhD is a natural progression from that. You might also take the route that Catherine took, Catherine Gosling, who gave us a talk about her MLit. So instead of doing a taught MA, you can do a research MLit. Okay, so there are lots of options at postgraduate level, but we're going to try and limit it to undergraduate for this session, if that's okay with everyone. I'd just like to thank, if there's, we'll stay online for a little while, but I'd like to thank all our speakers at this point and just say thank you so much to Michelle Cohen for staying on from UCD Careers Network. It's been really fantastic. Michelle knows everything. And when you come on campus, make sure that you make appointments with the Careers Network. They're there for all of us and they give absolutely brilliant advice. You can make personal appointments to get personal individualized advice and go to all their sessions, and they really give great direction. I'd like to thank Maria, Andrea, Aoife, Marianne, Abigail, Fergal, Catherine and Declan for their brilliant contributions tonight. Honestly, it's much better hearing it from the voice of people who are actually in the heart of it. And you've given really, really valuable insights tonight. And I'd especially like to thank Melanie Pape, who organised all of us here this evening. We have a few career guidance teachers present, so you are very welcome too. We're always delighted to feed back to schools. And if you're in the vicinity, if you're in UCD, come in and see us. We're delighted to organise individualised talks. Or if you need to email us, Melanie has just put our email into the chat there. So please do email any outstanding further queries to slcl@ucd.ie. And for now, we will say Ihoa and Slán to everybody. Thank you all for coming tonight. And thanks everybody for your great work for languages.